Hello YouTube, this is Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you today. For this one I'm going to do another Brewdog one for you. This brewery of course is very close to me in the city of Aberdeen where I study, and I've actually drunk this beer a number of times on tap. This is my kind of session beer from Brewdog when I go to the brew pub, if you like. I'm not sure if I've tried it out the bottle right enough, so it should be quite an interesting review for you. But this is the 5am Saint from Brewdog, which is a 5% American style amber ale, and as I say, quite looking forward to doing the review for this one for you. This is a member of the core range. It's one of 7 beers in the core range, so you have 5am Saint, Dead Pony Club, Libertine Black Ale, Dogma, Punk IPA, Hardcore IPA, and of course the Tokyo Star beer in there as well. But as is usual with my beer reviews, I'll just take you through a brief history of the Brewdog Brewery. I've done a number of these Brewdog reviews for you before, and you'll find the link to those in the video description, so check those out if you are interested in the Brewdog beers. But with the history, I will focus a little bit more on the current events going on at the brewery, because I've done quite a few of these beers for you in the last little while. But as I always say, if you are simply just interested in the tasting of this beer, then feel free to go forwards towards the last part of the video and you will catch that particular segment. Anyway, Brewdog were founded in 2007 by James Watt and Martin Dickey, both of whom were only 24 years old at the time, and their first brewery was at the Keswick Industrial Estate in Fraserburgh in the very northeast of Scotland. I always describe the country as looking a bit like a monster's head, and Fraserburgh is pretty much right on the tip of the monster's nose, if you like. But they started this brewery up with only a £30,000 loan, but today they're very, very well known throughout Scotland and indeed the world, and they've grown really exponentially. They export to a whole host of different countries, but they're known very much for being an experimental brewery. They experiment with a whole host of different malts, different hops, they add different random ingredients to their beers as well. You can get beers that have got cloudberries, lingonberries, blueberries and a whole host of other things in them here. And they're also very well known for having produced a number of strong beers as well. There was actually a bit of a media storm surrounding the country in 2008 over the production of the Tokyo beer, which is an 18.2% imperial stout, and many people in the Scottish media branded the pair as irresponsible for producing such a beer, because Scotland has a bit of a binge drinking culture, if you like. But they're also known for having held the title of World's Strongest Beer on more than one occasion. Their strong beers have included the 32% Tactical Nuclear Penguin, the 41% Sink the Bismarck and the 55% End of History, and these have largely been produced basically to get a hold of this title of World's Strongest Beer, and they've had a bit of a feud going on, if you like, with Schwarzbrau in Germany. But both of these two breweries have been beaten hands down by another brewery along in Keith in Scotland, Brewmeister, who have produced the 65% Armageddon and the 67.5% Snake Venom. So Brewdog and Schwarzbrau have both been beaten hands down to the title of World's Strongest Beer here, and I don't think that will be beating that record at all of 67.5%. Very difficult when it comes to brewing to actually get beyond that. But they've got a number of brew pubs actually throughout the country as well. They opened their first one in 2010 in Aberdeen, and then this was followed in 2011 by new bars in Edinburgh and Glasgow in 2011, and also one in Camden in London as well. But they also have a number of shareholding options as well. They've just finished the 3rd round of their Equity for Punk scheme, which means their fans can actually buy into the brewery. I'm sure they said that with the closing of this 3rd Equity for Punk scheme, they'd actually taken £14 million from it, so it's really cool. You can buy into this brewery a lot, and this helps them invest in their infrastructure and increase their capacity. And really what they do with this, rather than brewing the same stuff all the time, they try to add more beers to their range, so it's really cool in that way. And as I say, you get a lot of unique beers and things like that from this brewery. But in 2012 as well, they expanded their brew pub scene into England with locations in Nottingham, Manchester, Newcastle, Bristol, Birmingham, Leeds, and also in Shoreditch in London. And this year as well, 2012, they also moved to their brand new state-of-the-art facility in Ellon, which is closer to the city of Aberdeen, the oil capital of Europe, just on our east coast there. But the Fraserburgh facility actually remains as a beer lab for their experimental beers, and I believe this is where they also produce the really sort of high percentage stuff as well. But these guys are actually the largest independently owned brewery in Scotland, and they produce about 120,000 bottles of beer per month for export all across the world. You're talking all throughout Europe. I think you can get them in South Africa these days as well, but you're talking in the Far East, Australia, and both North and South America as well. But very recently they've actually confirmed some new locations for their breweries as well, and this includes Sao Paulo in Brazil, Berlin in Germany, Florence and Rome in Italy, of course. They're also looking at venues in Paris, in France, Belgium, in Brussels, and Barcelona in Spain. And they're also looking at a number of US states for introducing brew pubs over there as well. And they're also open to new locations as well. They actually have a thing on their website where you can go and put in where you'd like them to have a Brewdog brew pub as well. So that's quite cool. And very recently as well, they've launched their 2013 experimental range, and this includes the Armory, which is a black lager. However, they cancelled this one, I was told, in the brew pub because it didn't turn out very well. Hobo Pop is one of the other ones, which is an American wheat ale with rye. Interstellar, which is a red rye IPA, and Brixton Porter, which was introduced for the opening of the Brixton brew pub, but this was pulled out at the last moment, so they just decided they wanted to do the beer anyway and did this, and apparently it's really nice. But I have these 3 beers that I'll review for you in the next little while, and you can go on the website if you can get a hold of these and vote for them, and whichever one wins with this outcome of the voting will be added to the core range of beers actually. So quite cool that they're doing this and listening to their fans in this way. But that's a sort of brief history of the Brewdog Brewery, if you like. So let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself. As I say, quite looking forward to trying the bottle conditioned version of this. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the bottle art and stuff on this one. It's the standard Brewdog style of bottle art here. This is a nice sort of bright red colour actually. I think I've got an older bottle of this. I think they've made the colour a bit darker than this actually, more of a burgundy colour if I remember rightly. The bottle cap on this one, of course, is the red dog, and as always, as I always do with my Brewdog beers, I'll just read out the blurb to you. This one says, "Start the car, the lights are about to turn amber, buy the ticket, take the ride, past the alley where thieves and pimps sell corporate brews and good men soak it up like vermin, blissful in their ignorance. Past the jackhammers who want their 3.5%, keep going, towards that golden orb the size of Zeus's ass that hovers over this crazy town. Sleep late, have fun, get wild, drink amber, and drive like a bastard towards the saintly light." So that's the Brewdog sort of blurb you get on there. These things are always quite crazy. I quite like reading these out in the beer reviews for you. But let's get this guy open and get on with the tasting itself. This is a 5% American amber ale. It's malted with Maris Otter, Cara malt, crystal malts, Munich malts, and dark crystal malts. It's also hopped with Nelson Sauvin and Amarillo hops, and then it's dry hopped later with Simcoe, Cascade, Centennial, Atenum, Nelson, and also more Nelson Sauvin hops there. So it's got a big hop profile on this one. But this is what you expect from Brewdog. Sorry, they're really into their sort of hop forward beers, if you like. So let's pop this guy open. Here we are. A little bit of smoke on the opening there, but let's get this guy out and into the glass. It's actually a lot darker out of the bottle than it is on the tap actually. I remember it being a bit more red on the tap, I would say. But that's this guy all out. Just get that last little bit out here. But yeah, let's give this guy a little smell. Really big sort of caramelly malts on this one, big brown sugar. Just let you have a little look at the colour of this one. I'll turn the light on and let you see it a bit better. Pardon me. This is a nice sort of, actually quite a hazy beer. It's usually clearer on tap, I would say, but it's a nice sort of coppery mahogany colour, if you like. Really nice deep dark coppery amber with maybe even mahogany is a good way to describe it. Has a thin head, about half a finger if you like. That's kind of fading away, but it's quite hazy as well. As I say, it's usually clearer on tap here, but this is a really nice beer. One of my favourite Brewdog beers, in fact, actually. In terms of the nose here, you've got a big strong hoppy profile in there. A lot of grapefruit with some kind of sort of red dark fruits in there as well. And there's a nice underlying backbone of sort of brown sugary malts with this one. This is a really beautiful smelling beer, a very complex nose. If you get one of these, definitely take just a little while to actually go over the nose with this one and see what you're getting yourself. Really beautiful smelling beer, I have to say. But yeah, some nice sort of grapefruity hops in there, a good bit of citrus I think as well, and some nice sort of red fruits, dried fruits as well if you like. Really complex nose, but with a nice sort of brown sugary caramel backbone. I could sit and smell this one all day. The nose on the bottle one I think is actually a good bit stronger than you're getting off the tap as well. Probably just to do with the conditioning, of course, but yeah, really nice aroma here, really deep. Just take in some nice deep breaths of this one. But yeah, there's a good bit of floral character in there as well, maybe just a slight hint of toasted character with that sort of nice brown sugary backbone there, but a really beautiful smelling beer. This is one of the best noses I think I've had on beers in quite a while actually. But let's give this guy a taste. As I say, one of my favourite beers on tap with Brewdog, but this one I have a feeling might even be better in the bottle. Quite malty up front. There's a bit more bready malt than is actually obvious in the aroma here. But it's really bready up front with a good bit of caramel in there. And the caramel is actually quite prominent, to be honest with you. But yeah, the citrusy fruits are coming out just a little bit in the opening as well. And there's a bit of bitterness in there at the start. But yeah, you've got a bit of bitterness in there at the start with the sort of citrusy fruits. Then the grapefruit flavours are coming in a bit later, and they're kind of lingering in the aftertaste a little bit. That red fruit that I thought I was smelling kind of isn't so much in the flavour of this one. It must just be very, very subdued in flavour of the sort of bready and caramel malts and the sort of grapefruit flavours. The citrus flavours are actually quite subdued as well. It's mainly a sort of big caramel bready thing, brown sugars with the bread in there, and a nice sort of grapefruit blast as well. And this is kind of what you would expect actually from the hop profile that this has, a big sort of blast of grapefruit in there. There's actually a slight earthy character on the finish here too. But yeah, a nice little bit of earthy character and herbal character to it as well. I think the herbal character comes out a little bit better on the tap as well. It gives you a sort of really nice finish on the tap version of this. But really, really nice beer, as I have to say. This is my favourite Brewdog one from the core range that I've had so far, actually, I would say. But yeah, really nice American style amber ale. I think with the tap one, the fruits are a little bit sweeter and the sort of herbal character of the hops comes out a bit more. But this one definitely has the caramel malt backbone just as good as is on the tap. And as I say, this is probably my favourite Brewdog beer from the core range, of course. I really like this one, but Dogma is another very good one as well. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel with this one, it's quite mid-bodied, I would say. Quite a slight creamy mouthfeel to it, in fact. And it makes it quite smooth. A really sort of nice mouthfeel to it. The carbonation is actually quite lively, and it makes it quite crisp. And it's also just slightly dry on the finish. It goes from being quite a wet mouthfeel with that nice sort of creamy flavour, if you like, and then it goes just a little bit dry at the end. And you have that little bit of zippiness from the carbonation there. But overall, a very, very nice beer. If you're in the brew pubs, I highly recommend you try this on tap, but it is quite nice out of the bottle as well, I have to say. But yeah, definitely, I can see why this one's in the core range. It's a really nice beer, and it's an alternative to the IPAs, if you like. From most of their beers are sort of very kind of light and very hop forward, if you like. This one offers something a little bit different from being a more malty beer, but I suppose the Libertine Black Ale kind of gives you a little bit more of that, and the Tokyo beer obviously will as well, but that's a big sort of heavy beer. I'm not sure if you quite want to go for that as your first taste of Brewdog, but I would say at the 5am Saint, if you've never tried Brewdog before, this is an ideal one to start with in my opinion. And as I say, it's probably my favourite beer to drink on tap when I'm at the Brewdog brew pub. But anyway, I hope you found this beer review informative. It's been interesting for me to do one that I've drunk on tap quite a lot, but never really tried the bottle version of it, and it's quite interesting just to see the differences with it. As I say, you get a bit more herbal character on the tap version and the fruits, but you get the equal sort of you get just as good a sort of caramel bready backbone with this one as you do off the tap version as well. But as I say, I hope you found this beer review informative. I've enjoyed doing another Brewdog beer review for you. There's many more of these to come actually. I've still got a big stockpile of these beers, so I look forward to doing the rest of those for you. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider it, and let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this particular beer as well. I'm always interested to hear what other people think of the beers and see if the flavours I'm picking up out of these is right. But it's always interesting to hear that. But I'll catch you soon with another beer review. Thanks for watching, and please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. But cheers, thanks for watching.